Yeah, Jackie, this is 7.5% is where inflation came in year over year. That is the highest in 40 years since February of 1982. Month over month, we're looking at a 0.6% increase, and they revised December up to 0.6% also. So December and November are 0.6 month over month. When you look down in this, food went up 7% year over year. We talk about year over year energy. Energy is up year over year 27%. You talk about vehicles. That's one of the things that we were looking at. New vehicles up 12.2% year over year. Used vehicles, used cars and trucks up 40.5% year over year when you're talking about these increases here. Let's go through some of these other ones. We're talking about fuel oil. That's a big one over the winter, up 46.5% year over year. Month over month, it's up 9.5%. That's the heating oil to heat your home. When you're talking about gasoline of all types, it's up 39.9% year over year. It actually decreased month over month by 0.6% when you talk about that. So again, a very big headline number on here. And when you go through these inflation numbers, also very big headline numbers, 7.5% year over year, going up month over month 0.6%. And that is the same as December. So we're not seeing a decrease in the inflation increase, if that makes sense. But the highest, Jackie, since February of 1982. When we get those jobless claims, they are coming in now. You can see that the jobless claims, I'm going to read those at the moment, 0.3%. We see jobless claims. We see jobless claims in February coming up. 223,000 is the actual that it came through with February 5th. Continued jobless claims for January 29th, 1.6 million on those continuous jobless claims. Again, initial jobless claims coming through February 5th at 223,000. That was a beat, so to speak, on the estimate. The estimate was going to be 230,000. Same with the continued jobless claims, but just minor, 1.6 million. 1.61 is what folks thought. It's 1.62. So again, some big numbers, though. The CPI really is where it is. The inflation, you're looking at there on your screen, 0.6% month over month, 7.5% year over year.
No chance they have any intentions to stopping these CPI numbers. This inflation, the CPI comes out today at a continued 40-year high and still running hot, picking up across a tray of goods and services. And it will broaden its touch all through America's economy. Everyone will feel it. Still, the feds and the government will continue to use credible threats as inflation continues its elevation and growth. Today's CPI numbers came in at 7.5 from 7% in December. Nothing has been done to control this beast called inflation. So what happened? I asked myself, why does these numbers come out so low? Let's check out George Gammon on his whiteboard and see how he reads it and how the feds are reading it. I know midterms are close by, so they are manipulating the calculations on how to read the CPI. Let's take a look. Fair use.
So I think the politicians look at this and they say, well, we can't get reelected if inflation is running hot and there's nothing we can do about inflation because we have to have it for a variety of different reasons. Therefore, instead of battling inflation, actually bringing prices down, we'll just adjust the measurement. And this is the 2022 CPI scam. Step number 3. Now let's go over the specific details to how they are changing the measurement, and then we can connect the dots. And I can promise you, at the end of this video, give it about 2 or 3 minutes, you are going to look exactly like the average Joe and Moody the Millennial. In other words, you're going to be pissed. So sit down and pour yourself that drink because it is definitely stiff drink time. Editor, let's go right back to the internet. So this is very exciting, guys, because the BLS's report for January just came out. And this is the first month that they made these changes to the CPI that will be in place indefinitely into the future. So what we can do is we can pull up the CPI print and the details from December of 2021. We can compare that to January of 2022, and we can see the changes to determine if these changes are going to understate inflation to an even greater degree, allowing the politicians to further pull the wool over your eyes and claim that consumer price inflation is a lot lower than it actually is in the real economy. Let's dive right into the numbers. So again, this is the January 2022 report. The first thing that I want to highlight is food is 13.37%. And this is the weighting that they allocate to food in the CPI metric. So the more weighting they give a specific input, the more impact it has on the overall CPI print. So now let's see the weight they gave food back in December of 2021. So we can see if there was a change. Well, right here in December of 21, it was 13.99%. So what that tells us is in January of 2022, the change they made was to reduce the weighting allocated to food. I wonder why on earth they do that. Maybe it's because food prices have skyrocketed. That's why. So if food prices are skyrocketing, the government's solution is just, well, we'll tweak the numbers so food doesn't impact the overall CPI to the same degree. Absolutely. You can't make this stuff up. And this is why the average Joe, Moody the millennial on the whiteboard, and probably you right now watching this video are so pissed off. You know they are lying to you.
Hey guys, it's Jose, your regular Joe Blow again, keeping an eye out and my ears open to the lies this administration tells us. I see things from a glass half full perspective, so I don't complain. I do my research and move accordingly. Let's find out whatever good we can get from this. I'll continue to hedge. I know for sure, since I live in New York City, inflation here is double the numbers they put out. So if it's 7.5 in all major cities, it's 15%. Plus, they planned this to be this way. All we can do is navigate, surf, and hedge this wave. For the foreseeable future, let's hear from a reporter in Europe who is also feeling the pinch and is studying inflation's ramifications. See what he has to say about the ECB, BOE, and the Feds. Fair use.
The European Central Bank, they're trying to do something about inflation. What are they doing?
Well, one of the key ways in which you can tackle inflation if you are a central bank is, because you've got control of interest rates, is to raise them, because what that does is it makes it less attractive to borrow money and more attractive to save money, which means people spend less. And when people spend less, prices don't rise as much because you don't have this demand and supply issue that leads to inflation. But the ECB has said that it's not ready to increase interest rates just yet.
They're at zero, right?
They're at historic lows of zero, and they're not going any higher than that just yet. Even though inflation is at, over 5% in some areas, the ECB's target is 2%. But I've spoken to an expert about this today, and he insists that the ECB is taking this too slowly, because not only is it saying it's not going to increase rates now, it says during 2022 it can't see itself increasing rates at all then either, even though it is forecasting inflation of over 3% then, so it's still well above its target. However, it isn't doing nothing to tackle inflation. What the ECB has just announced is that it is going to be phasing out its massive pandemic purchasing programme, which is basically an economic stimulus that was worth 1.85 trillion euros, and that should hopefully do something to stop the outrageous spending.
Okay, so I'm wondering then, how does the European Central Bank's approach compare to other central banks? I'm thinking of the Bank of England, the Federal Reserve Bank.
It's good that you mentioned both of those two, actually, because we've heard from the Bank of England, which is a big deal because they're the custodians of the British pound, which is influential, and they aren't doing the same as the European Central Bank. They've actually announced that they're going to increase rates right now to 0.25%. 0.25%, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but actually when you consider that they haven't raised interest rates at all for the past 3 years, you see that that is something that is remarkable, and it has surprised investors today. But one of the reasons it's behaving slightly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is because we've been living in an era of falling rates. So this is a real change. And one of the things that is behind that is that inflation is worse in the UK than it is in the Eurozone. So you can see why there's more pressure there for them to do that. But then we've also heard from the Federal Reserve in the United States, the central bank there, and they're also, like the ECB, not increasing rates yet. However, they have said that they expect to do it 3 times next year. And the ECB said it doesn't expect to do it at all next year. So they're certainly seeming a bit more radical on this.
So what does that tell us then about 2022? I mean, people want to know that prices are going to come down. Yeah,
well, they probably will eventually. But we can't say that it's not going to be more inflation through at least the first few months of 2022 because we've still got people spending more, still got demand rising.
As time passes, it's not looking good for anyone who is waiting on the Feds or this administration to come and save them. Do your research. This is not financial advice. It's just my opinion. Always keeping an eye out and my ears open because I choose not to embrace these liars. Let's take it for what it is. This is real, so let's excel and prevail. Thank you. Stay free.
It ain't hard to tell. I excel, then prevail.